seconds and counting.
Hey, what's up, guys? Clips Entertainment here, back with a video, and today we are back talking about the Houston Texans and their big decision that they have coming up with the second overall pick. And a big headline here is Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is kind of had an interesting draft process. When the Panthers first traded up to the number one overall pick, all the fingers were kind of pointed at him as he was going to be the guy who may be selected with that number one overall pick. Since then, it's kind of all gone downhill for CJ. Reports have been saying that Bryce Young is the guy for the Panthers. Adam Schefter believes the Panthers will be taking Bryce Young, and many more people around the league suggest that Bryce Young will be taking that number one overall pick and not CJ Stroud, as it was originally said when the Panthers got that pick. But there are some interesting reasons to get into why he may not be that number one overall pick. Recently, something that's been discussed a lot is this S2 test. S2 test is kind of this cognitive test that, quarterbacks and draft prospects take during the draft process, and they have a certain score that's evaluated. It has a lot to do with like processing and I guess you could say going through reads and kind of what the quarterback knows and what he sees and what he's able to process and everything. And while it's important, I feel like it's gotten a little bit out of hand. Bryce Young, as reportedly, had the best score of like 98. Will Levis had the best score, second best score in the 90s, stuff like that. But it has been said that CJ Stroud has had one of the worst scores among quarterbacks and that he did not do very well in that S2 test. It may not mean much, but Jacob, would you say that that is definitely a reason for the drop in the stock?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has something to do with it. I also think there's just kind of, if you watch the film, I think a lot of people would agree that Bryce's film is just better. I think the testing definitely has something to do with it because, I mean, I know that it's come out that the Panthers owners, like their ownership, very much values the S2 testing, which doesn't look great for Stroud because Bryce had a 98, which is ridiculously good on that. I mean, I think there were multiple reasons for Stroud falling, but I also think there's just a chance that Bryce was kind of always their guy, and they just put up a smokescreen for Stroud. I think it's interesting an interesting conversation to have because I think there's multiple reasons, but I think the testing is a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this testing, obviously wasn't necessarily a thing that was being evaluated before. It has been said that over the last 7 years that quarterbacks who did poor on the test turned out to, be poor quarterbacks when it comes to being in the NFL. And, quarterbacks that did well on the test, they were relatively pretty good, like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Those are guys that all did very, very well on this test. But now what this could mean is the Texans will have the chance to draft CJ Stroud if the Panthers do indeed take Bryce Young. They very well may not. This could all just be smokescreen, this and that. But I think it'd be not necessarily a mistake, but it'd be a wasted opportunity for the Texans not to take CJ Stroud. I feel like he has that franchise quarterback potential. I feel like, his ball placement is just kind of unreal. He can throw the ball in any tight window. He's got great footwork. And maybe he doesn't scan the field as well as guys like Bryce Young, but Bryce Young's an amazing quarterback, great processor. I feel like this Texans offense is a great fit for CJ Stroud because there's going to be guys open. He's going to be able to throw guys open with the way he places the ball. I feel like he also has mobility that has just not quite been unlocked yet. And we talked about it before, and I'll talk about it again. That game versus Georgia in the college football playoff semifinal was just honestly kind of opened my eyes. He was able to escape out of any sack, just making moves in and outside the pocket, making fantastic plays, and he almost, single-handedly carried Ohio State to the victory there. So, Jacob, at this point, would you say that Texans should be taking CJ Stroud at 2, or should they be looking at other options?
I would, if I was the Texans, I would at least consider other options because I think you always have to consider other options. Obviously, I think you can't be locked in on a certain prospect and miss out on other stuff. But I would guess, if I had to guess of right now, I still think the Texans would take CJ Stroud at 2. And I think that's more of an ownership thing than maybe the front office. I think the McNair family will push for a quarterback because you're getting people in the seats, you're getting just fan interaction in general, especially with Stroud because they know how people look at it. Almost everyone looks at it like the top two quarterbacks and everybody else. Yes, I think people could get behind maybe Will Levis, but I don't think the support would be anywhere near as much as if they drafted CJ Stroud. I think the coaching staff would also like CJ Stroud. I think he fits perfectly in the Texans offense with the Shanahan style offense. I think if they don't draft Stroud, it's more of a front office thing, to be honest with you. I think maybe it's Casario and his scouts don't like him as much, but I would still bet on Stroud being a Texan if he's available at two.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I also would bet on is I'm fairly confident the Texans will be taking a quarterback at two. Originally CJ Stroud was, pointed at being a Panther. Well, it was also originally pointed out that the Texans will likely be taking a quarterback. D'Amico Ryans even said to himself that there's two quarterbacks early in the draft that they like. And I would only assume that those two guys are CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Could be Will Levis, but I'm willing to die on that hill that it is CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. So I would think I'm fairly confident that either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud will be a Texan. And so whoever falls, I think it goes to the Houston Texans to be their franchise quarterback. And that's going to be pretty much it for today's video. If you have any questions about prospects or draft related, feel free to let us know and make sure to like and comment down below. And we'll see you all next time. Peace.